This war and visual culture storyboard will outline the sociological themes including memorialization, wound culture, and the contemporary commercialization and desensitization of death and historical events. We may not think ourselves as being directly influenced by war, but the media we consume may inherently link us in a visual way. Digital depictions of 21st century warfare in social settings, such as video games, may be the driving force in conceptualizing how war is conducted. Jim Burns suggests there is a bridge between notions of the politicization of an image and the sociology of photography, implying we only know what war is by the accompanied horrific images used and how they are manipulated by politics and individual interpretation. Much mainstream photography theory concentrates on the relationship between photography, memory, truth, and death, often focusing on one of these aspects compromises another. We are no longer surrounded by images of death in contemporary society. Varieties and scenes of death in public culture have become a public spectacle as self-told forms of life and death become conspicuous. Mark Selzer defines this concept as wound culture. The relationship between visual culture and wounded bodies have become normalized in contemporary Western culture. Digital formats subjugate us from the reality of death. This is a juxtaposition to the pre-industrial society where death and war was a commonplace. Baudrillard compares the handheld shots we get in the news of dead bodies to the pornographic camera work we see in porn films, referring to this as war porn, while linking this to the ideas of stimulation and hyperreality in relation to capitalism and globalization. There has been a revival of interest in memorials themselves, and the shaping of memorial forms in line with contemporary trends, with online sites, with digital forms being the most obvious example of this. But little attention has been paid to the ongoing processes of memorialization becoming a commodity. Video games such as Battlefield 1 use shock value and glorification of war as commodification, exaggerating storylines based on loose historical interpretations to gain vast consumption and profit, facilitating to the desensitization of visual war and its culture. War simulators amplify scenarios in comparison to reality. Call of Duty is a very visually entertaining game with parameters not matching real-life situations that occur within game, as they are heavily choreographed. They are designed in this way to capture a hyper-reality often portrayed by action thriller cinema. Alternatively, depictions of war are often forced to be adjusted commercially to accommodate for a demographic, even if that means losing historical accuracy in the process. For example, Wolfenstein has been heavily censored in Germany due to the laws on displaying Nazi propaganda. The most popular and appropriate type of genre for this particular topic would be expository documentary, due to the nature of its historical roots and credentials. The mode was first used by social activist John Grierson in 1927 and has since become the traditional mode of documentation. According to Bill Nichols, expository documentary is defined as a mode of documentary which focuses on social problems in the world and emphasizes rhetorical content that is often historical, including archive footage, interviews, or pictures. In practice, expositional images illustrate, illuminate, evoke, or act in counterpoint to what is being said. We therefore take cue from the commentary and understand the images as evidence or demonstration. Notable filmmakers of early expository documentaries include those of Frank Capra in the production of Why We Fight. Why We Fight is a series of 7 documentary films which were famously commissioned by the United States in the 1940s. Famously, this is where supporting visual information founded in the mode is partnered with inhibiting facts and opinions, while the use of imperative, persuasive techniques is as standard, therefore informing the audience of what they are seeing on screen as habitual fact. A contemporary example of documentaries formed in this way are those narrated by David Attenborough, such as the Planet Earth franchise with the BBC, which explores the history and the status of our planet's environment. By using this form of documentation, it is an ethical way of proceeding as it does not directly involve people or an interview process. With inspiration from Adam Curtis and his extensive use of archive footage, meaningful connections between historical situations and the impact of different ideologies have had on modern society can be facilitated. Archive footage can legally be obtained from public domains such as YouTube if it is being used in a transformative matter. To avoid copyright, I can produce home game footage, but this does concern visual ethics surrounding death, which can be censored prior to publishing. In conclusion, expository documentary is therefore a wonderful way of showing people an aspect of reality, conducting a deeper understanding of what influences visual culture in respect to the changing consumption of war and how it links to the contemporary visual.